because I was thinking, if I study, there's not going to be a point in my life anymore where I can go off and travel and explore. So yeah, that's what I did. And I ended up actually staying abroad for 13 months. That's when, I don't know, my mind started opening up to the possibility, okay, you can actually work abroad and you can travel, and there's so many different opportunities.
Welcome to the Venture-Ette podcast, where women from all over the world share their stories of travel, moving abroad, and creating a new life for themselves, hoping to inspire you to live out your dreams by showing you how other women did it. I'm your host, Venture-Ette, Ashley. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Venture-Ette podcast. I'm Ashley, and I am truly grateful that you are here listening with me today. It truly means so much to me. I have to say, right now it's a time where parts of the world are slowly starting to open up again, and it really gives me hope right now that we can travel again someday soon. I'm really itching for another adventure, so I'm really hoping that, I can do just one more trip this year, but we'll see. With today's guest, it's someone who I met last year when I was living in Bali, Indonesia. We both went to the same gym, which is Canggu Nest. So if you're ever in Canggu, Bali, I highly recommend you check out this gym. It's just awesome. Great classes, amazing trainers. I mean, you just have to go. But anyways, we went to the same gym and we immediately hit it off, and we quickly created this beautiful friendship, which sadly, about a month after we met, I did leave and came back to the US, but we still follow each other on social media and still stay in touch here and there. And one thing I love about her presence on social media is that she's really open and honest about her life. She really shares everything about her day to day, and, shares with everyone the good and not so good about being a digital nomad. Though she wasn't always a digital nomad. She grew up in a small town in Germany where she had the mindset, like most of us do, of, go to school, get a degree, get a job, and climb up the corporate ladder. But it wasn't until she was at this crossroads in her life where she had to choose between either getting a higher education and moving abroad to Australia. Ultimately, she chose moving abroad to Australia, where that forever changed her view on life, and she quickly realized that Germany just wasn't a place that she wanted to stay or be in. So for the first few years, she did what most of us do when we travel, is work a lot, save, travel. Work a lot, save, travel, and repeat. And she did this for quite a few years, and she really just wanted to find a way to just kind of make it more of a permanent thing of just being abroad. And it wasn't until a few years later she realized that she could actually work online and work remotely. And, now she is an international photographer, but it took her a while for her to realize as to what her calling is that would allow her to, give her that sense of freedom of being able to travel and work abroad, but be something that she truly enjoys doing from day to day. And what I love about her story is that she really just tried everything. She tried everything. She failed at a lot of things. Maybe not failed, but just didn't truly succeed in a lot of things. But she just really knew in her heart that she wanted to live abroad and travel and see the world, but do so in a way where, she can work remotely. And she has found it, and I'm so excited for Christina to share with us today her story as to how, she left Germany and has created this life for herself. And right now she's in Bali, Indonesia. So I am so pleased to welcome my friend, Christina.
Hey, Ashley, thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Well, first I want to say happy belated birthday. I know it's your birthday recently, and you went on a little adventure, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I went up to Mount Batur for a sunrise hike in the north of Bali, and that was just beautiful, stunning, and just an amazing way to celebrate my birthday. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you must have gotten amazing photos as well since you're a photographer. But that just kind of means that Bali right now it's starting to open up a little bit because that's where you are. You're in Indonesia, and yeah, it's like starting to open up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe about 1 or 2 weeks ago, things were starting to open up again, like cafes and restaurants. And they're, I mean, obviously they have certain regulations, but things are starting to open up again. No tourists are allowed to come in, but yeah, you can travel around the island. There's definitely tourist attractions still closed, but some are starting to open again.
Okay. So you were able to easily, because you're in Canggu, and Canggu to like north to Mount Batur is like how long of a drive or how long of a trip?
2 or 2.5 hours.
Okay. And did you like get a car or did you just like motorbike up north?
We were, yeah, on a scooter up, and then a guy was picking us up in the morning with a car to the starting point, and then, yeah.
Wow. No, that's why I need to go back to Bali because I didn't get to do that and I want to do one of those sunrise hikes. So definitely on my list. But I feel like that's such a different life from what it was, kind of growing up. Because I feel like, now you are a true digital nomad, working and living abroad. But I kind of want to just talk about a little bit how your life was before abroad because you're originally from Germany. And now you're so open and so free spirited and you're very honest as well on social media as to how your life is. And I just kind of wonder like if that was the case back in Germany, if you felt very open and free spirited there when you were growing up.
Yeah, good point. Definitely not. So I'm originally from a small city called Würzburg, which is in Bavaria. It's very conservative, closed-minded, I would say. I definitely felt, I mean, when I was growing up, I definitely didn't have the idea of traveling the world and working remotely and, living the life that I'm living now because I think, yeah, just by the people that I was surrounded by, I didn't even feel like I had that possibility to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it because I grew up in that similar kind of circumstance as well, where like you don't think about life abroad, like you see it on TV, but you don't see it as something tangible for yourself.
Exactly.
So, because you grew up in that kind of environment, like what did you see for yourself that you wanted to work in, and like where you wanted to live? Did you at the time want to stay in your small town when you were growing up?
Yeah, so for me, as you were saying, it was something that was not tangible for me. I did an apprenticeship in sales when I was 16, and kind of the idea that I had, and I think that was just something that was really just put on to me by society, and the typical way that you would go is I wanted to get my A level, I wanted to go to university, I wanted to become a consultant and work for one of the big fours like Ernst and Young or some of those companies. And I really saw myself having that normal career path and yeah, staying in my hometown. I didn't even think of moving to another city or another country. It was very much just I wanted to study and, yeah, climb the career ladder.
I totally get it because that's where I was too. But just to kind of explain for those that might not know, what is A level? Because we don't have like A level here in the States.
Yeah, I hope that is the right term. It's the last years in school that you have to do, so you're able to go to university. If you don't have that, you're not allowed to even start studying.
Okay, so it's before university. So then how old are you when you start your A level or when you get your A level?
Around like 18, 19, I think.
And that's just like a year long thing where you get your A level before going to uni.
For me, it was 2 years long. It used to be in the past 3 years long, but now it's 2 years, I think.
You did complete getting your A level.
Did
Yeah, and
Yeah, I did.
But at this point, when you were getting your A level, that's where like you reached like a fork in the road where you could either continue schooling or move abroad. So how did that come about?
So it was actually, I had a lot of people in my class that went to Australia for a work and holiday visa. And before they were talking about it, I didn't even know that that exists. And for me, there was always this idea, okay, I'm going to travel at some point. And to think about that I could potentially stay for a few months abroad and work and travel, that was just mind blowing and amazing. And I choose Australia because I wanted to get better at English. I was thinking that's already also going to help me to study. And yeah, my plan was to go to Australia for 5 months to work and travel, because I was thinking if I study, there's not going to be a point in my life anymore where I can go off and travel and explore. So yeah, that's what I did. And I ended up actually staying abroad for 13 months. To that point, I wasn't working remotely. I was working mainly in hospitality. So I was a waitress, I was a bartender. Right in the beginning, I was also a dishwasher. And yeah, that's when, I don't know, my mind started opening up to the possibility, okay, you can actually work abroad and you can travel, and there's so many different opportunities. So then I came back to Germany, which was in 2016. And I was thinking, okay, now I'm actually going to start and study. But it was not really because I wanted it. It was more because I felt that was expected from me, from my family, and yeah, just like the normal kind of path to go. And yeah, I came back to Germany and I got completely depressed and just feeling, just very much, I couldn't really settle back into Germany. I felt very disconnected and just, yeah, not ready to stay there. And yeah, for the next, I think it was like 3 years in total or something, I continued traveling and I continued to have odd jobs here and there. I worked in Australia, in New Zealand, in Switzerland, Germany, of course. And yeah, I just kept on kind of traveling, exploring, going back to Germany, trying out different things. And in 2017, I was on a yoga retreat in Sri Lanka, and I heard of people earning money from social media and blog posts. And that's kind of where the spark or the inspiration came from of working remotely. So that was in, yeah, 2017, so 3 years ago.
Wow. So before you were just taking any jobs that you could and just kind of, what it seemed like is that you would kind of work to save as much as you could so that you could travel for an extensive period of time. So what was the longest period of time that you would just go traveling? Like you would save up some money and then you would go travel for typically how long normally?
Really different in each situation. The longest I've ever traveled without working was, I think, 4 or 5 months, where I went to Thailand, New Zealand, Australia. Yeah, that was like, maybe it was even 5 months. But sometimes I would work. I had times in Sydney where I was working in Australia for like 6 months and saved up a lot. And then I would travel for 3 months and work again for 2 months and travel for, it really depended also where I was traveling, because obviously Australia and New Zealand is very expensive, but then Southeast Asia is much cheaper. So yeah, I would say 1 to 5 months, depending.
Wow. Yeah. You must have been really hustling then to be able to just, not work for, 5 months at a time. And I also just kind of want to like ask a little bit of when you first moved to Australia, because you said you didn't really speak much English at that point, but clearly, you must have bettered your English enough to love it so much that you would want to stay for over a year. So how was that kind of getting used to like living in another country and having to get used to like learning another language?
I mean, we learn English in school, so I definitely had basic knowledge, but generally speaking was very difficult for me. And then when I came to Australia, I went up to Cairns, and the accent there is just so strong. So it was definitely very difficult for me to understand people. And I was living in a hostel back then, and there was some other Germans. So sometimes it was really tempting to also speak German. So the first maybe 2 or 3 months, I didn't really dive that much into learning English. I was feeling very unconfident around speaking English. But then I was like, wow, I'm in Australia. I should definitely start learning English better. And I decided to basically, even if I'm surrounded by other Germans, to not speak German anymore. And after a few months, I also moved to Sydney, and I moved in with a girl from Wales and a guy from New Zealand. And I was working with other people, all just people that their native or their mother tongue is English. And then it happened really quickly that I really got into the flow, and I started feeling more comfortable. And now I really like my social media is on English. My website is in English, and I really just enjoy it, and feel much more confident. There's definitely times, like even now when we are talking, like there's some words that I'm missing, or sometimes I can't fully express what I want to say. But yeah, it's just amazing to be able to talk in English. And
Yeah, no, you would do such a good job. And I feel like there really is no better way to like really practice the language than fully immersing yourself. So I love the fact that you really did try to stray away from like speaking German when you didn't have to, and really made an effort to speak English, when you can, because otherwise it's very easy to just get comfortable with what you already know, which for you is German, and then you would never better your English. But so you clearly, fully immersed yourself in the culture and the language, and then fast forward when you learned about like earning money via social media. Is that when you started your blog? Was that what the first thing you tried to go for?
Yeah, so I didn't earn any, and still to that day, I don't really earn any money with my social media. But I started in 2017 a German blog, which was all about travel and kind of conscious travel. So also around mindfulness and yoga and things that were just interesting for me. And I kept on getting asked by people, how do I travel so much? And I just wanted to explain more around how I work, how I find jobs and things like that. And I just started for maybe like half a year, just really dive into how you can work remotely, how you can earn money, and just the different kind of avenues that you're like your possibilities that you're able to go. But yeah, in the first few months, I thought I'll just work on a platform. There's different platforms like Upwork or freelance.com and things like that. And I just thought I'll hop on there and just get a job as a blog writer or something. And that didn't work out at all. And for the first 6 months, I just completely failed at it. But I also got a lot of experience in trying out different things and just seeing where I could potentially earn some money.
Yeah. No, and that's good. You need to kind of just do a little bit of trial and error, just, see what works and see what doesn't. So, I mean, you did that for about 6 months. So then eventually, what did you decide? What did you feel like you could really make something with in terms of what you were learning?
For me, it was going into the direction of marketing and social media management. And I want to add that, because to the 6 months that I was trying things out, I was basically in Germany. And after 2 months of trying and failing, I got a job again because I wasn't able to support myself through working remotely. And so I was doing all this stuff on the side. And I was very much still in my hometown and surrounded by people that were basically telling me you're not able to work remotely and you're not going to be able to work like to earn any money. And there was a lot of questions from people like, where is your business plan, or what are you going to do? And I didn't have that answer. So it was January 2018 that I moved to Chiang Mai in Thailand. I don't know if have you been, Ashley?
Yes, I love Thailand.
Chiang Mai is just one of those spots similar to Bali where there's a lot of people working remotely, and completely different mindset to where I'm from, or like it's not even just where I'm from, but just generally how people think. And so I went to Chiang Mai, and I was surrounded by a lot of people that were very, very supportive, and they didn't know me well, but it was just, the surrounding and the community. And I made a Facebook post on a digital nomad Facebook group and said, I don't really know the job title that I'm having. I just want to do something around social media and marketing, and I just want to earn some money online. I think my post was saying, I just want to earn my first dollar online. And so there was a guy that was a YouTuber. He reached out to me. So I was helping. It was basically like influencer management. I was helping him with his brand deals and sponsorships. And then because of that first gig that I was kind of having, I introduced myself in that way. And so that's how I got my next client. And so slowly I started getting some clients. I was doing social media management. I was doing influencer management. And I basically just helped people with what they needed around marketing and social media.
Wow. And that's just basically just from putting up a post on Facebook. And I've definitely been there too. You never know what could happen when you like post something on Facebook. So, I mean, you're like in Thailand, really making something, of yourself with your business, but so because you were in this environment where everyone, like you said, is very like-minded, this was your first time actually like living in Southeast Asia though, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And how did you feel because I mean, when you first moved abroad, like you said, you went to Australia and you traveled to like New Zealand. So, you're trying to build up your business, but then at the same time, you're living in Southeast Asia, which is completely different, to Germany, and for more reasons than one. So how was it for you just kind of getting used to the Thai culture as well, and like being in that kind of environment?
Honestly, it was just amazing. I love Southeast Asia. I love Thailand. I went for a vacation twice before to Thailand, so I already knew that I like Thailand, the weather, the people, the culture, like all of that. But it was definitely a different thing to actually live in a place. So for me, it was Thailand generally, or Southeast Asia, also particularly Chiang Mai, is very easy and comfortable to live in. It's super easy to get an apartment or a condo. It takes you like 1 or 2 days. It's kind of like walking into a hotel and just getting a place, getting a scooter and getting around the city and meeting people, going to events and things like that. It just really felt like freedom and just amazing to settle into that place.
Yeah, and I totally know what you mean. Like, having lived in Southeast Asia, like myself, it's a completely different lifestyle. Like you said, it's so much easier, and it's not so, it's not all about like these rules and restrictions and having to follow like every little guideline. It's a bit more lenient with things, which, like you said, it's definitely gives you that feeling of freedom that I feel like a lot of us really crave. So you're like in Chiang Mai and you're really embracing, the Thai culture, the lifestyle, and you're really building up your social media business. Eventually, though, you did make it to Bali, or did you go somewhere else between Chiang Mai and Bali?
So I went to Vietnam for 2 weeks, and that was basically like a little vacation before I was going back to Germany. And I went to Germany, spent 1.5 months in Portugal, because I wanted to spend the summer in Europe. And then I went back to Chiang Mai in October 2018. And then I actually got asked by a co-workation in Bali to fly me out here to be there as a content creator in, I think it was November 2018. And that was my first time actually going to Bali. So I was here for maybe 2.5 weeks.
Wow. So how do you feel like, what do you think was really like helping you getting like all these connections and all these different type of opportunities? Like, what do you think really helped with you getting these opportunities?
I think generally, like in Chiang Mai, there's a lot of events, so you quickly get to know a lot of people. And even though now I think there's so many people working remotely and digital nomads, it's very much still kind of like a bubble. And once you start getting to know people, you're running or you're kind of crossing paths with the same people, and everyone's active on social media. Like most people are active on Instagram or some sort of platform, and you start connecting with different people. And for example, that co-living, co-working vacation, they reached out to me through Instagram. So it's social media, it's events, and just kind of getting in touch with people.
So I feel like you have to be very open. I mean, to live this kind of like life of being a digital nomad, you have to be open-minded in general, but you need to be even more open-minded to like the opportunities that come your way. And I feel like when you have that kind of mentality, like those opportunities do tend to come your way, like the whole like law of attraction, sort of thing. So I feel like you were just attracting like all these opportunities because it's something that you really craved. Like, you said you really wanted to work online. You wanted to just work in general. And so people were like, okay, well, here's some work,
Yeah, I think definitely, like, generally I was just so passionate about it, and I had just so much energy, and I was just feeling like I really want to make this work. So definitely, law of attraction and just sending the right vibes out, that definitely helped with attracting those kind of people for sure.
You were definitely doing that a lot in Chiang Mai, and you got to come to Bali, but then eventually you like moved to Bali not long after your content creation job.
It was the 2.5 weeks that I came to Bali, and I went back to Chiang Mai because that was where I was based for that time. And in Chiang Mai, there is something called burning season. So the air quality gets quite bad around February. So then I ended up going in March to Bali, and I lived here for 4 months, which was last year, so 2019. So from March to June, I think I was here, or July. So I lived here for 4 months last year.
And we met. I remember, we were working out at Canggu Nest, and, you asked me if I could take some photos of you. And I just remember too, it wasn't just you. I met so many other people that had also flown in from Chiang Mai, and because of the same reason, because of the crops being burned and whatnot. But I mean, you were working so heavily in social media, you were in Bali, but then for a while you started to kind of explore another talent that you have, which is photography.
Yeah. So I was still in marketing, and it was going quite well, but I basically got to Canggu, which is right by the ocean, and I was in a co-working space, and I was working a lot. I was doing project management and strategy for my clients, and I hired freelancers to help me out. And I was thinking, okay, so I'm in Bali, I'm right by the beach, but I just didn't have the time to enjoy any of that. Like, I was most of the time in the co-working space, and I was just not out in nature, not enjoying, the amazing weather and the people. And photography was always a passion of mine. I, due to travel, I was taking photos with my phone. I had a GoPro and things like that. And I was at that point where I was definitely not happy with how things were going with my work. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll just take some time off. So I went to Ubud, which is kind of like, I think, just the more spiritual place in Bali. And a lot of people go to kind of find themselves or to figure out what they want to do. And I basically canceled all my clients that I was having to that point in marketing. And I spent a month in Ubud, not working and just kind of like trying to figure out what I want to do. And I always had this very limiting belief that with photography, you can't earn enough money. And I was always thinking it's something that I can't do full time. And it's just another kind of blockage that was in my mind, and I had to change my mindset around that. So in Ubud, I was starting to like explore more around photography. I had a camera already and I was taking photos, and I thought, well, if I want to become a full-time photographer, there is no better place than Bali. It's just so many Instagrammable spots and so many cafes and restaurants and beautiful locations, and so many also other photographers and videographers and content creators out here, where I thought, okay, so if I'm going to try to make that a full-time income, then Bali is the right spot. And so it was, after that month that I took off, I decided to just put a post again on Facebook, and I was like, I'm going to just start taking photos of people for free, just to build up a portfolio and photos that I can show to potential clients. And I was taking photos of a girl in Ubud. She was a coach, and took some photos of her like coaching and doing yoga and things like that. And while I was in a cafe up in Ubud called Zest, I was taking photos of her, and a guy came up to me, "Hey, are you a photographer? Because I'm in need of someone." And I was like, "Yes, I am." And so with my first free photo shoot that I offered, I had my first client there. And that's basically how I got my first client. And slowly from that, I started building, my portfolio, and I got my first paying jobs. And I built a website, which was last year in, I think, May or June. And I was within the first 2 months able to fully support myself from the work that I was doing. And I was thinking, okay, if that's how it was working in the first 2 months, I can definitely build a business around it. So yeah, since last year, that's my full-time work, photography.
It's just crazy. And like I said, it's really like the law of attraction and the energy and the mindset that you have. And also being in Bali, like you said, it's the most ideal place to be as a photographer because it is so beautiful and lush. And, but yeah, I just feel like, even though you said like Ubud is a place to find yourself, I feel like Bali in general is that kind of place where you find yourself. And I definitely felt that kind of internal struggle as well when I was in Bali. So I totally understand where like you're in this paradise, Bali, on an island, but then not everything is going well, where you feel like that shouldn't be because you're in paradise,
Yeah.
But you've made it work. You push through and you figured out what you really enjoy and something that you can really make work for you. And then now it's now going to be a year later and that you've been like a full-time photographer.
Yeah. And as you were saying, Bali in general is definitely a place to find yourself. I just felt very drawn to Ubud because, I love meditation and yoga and kind of the spiritual side of things. And Ubud was definitely a place where there was a lot of people. You can do a workshop around intuition or like tarot card reading or anything that is kind of around that spiritual kind of side. And yeah, Bali was just the perfect place to do that. So
I guess, what do you see for yourself now that you do have your full-time business? I mean, you're living in Bali. Like, I know we can't really travel right now, but when we can, what do you see for yourself? Like, not just for your work professionally, but where else would you want to go? Maybe possibly live in for a while.
So for me, I kind of have a pattern. I spend around, October to February or something like that. Like 4 to 5 months I usually spend in Thailand. It's just a place where I really feel home. And then I go to Bali. I was supposed to be here for 2 months, but then COVID happened and the lockdown happened. So I'm staying here now. And then usually after Bali, I go, I've been many times to Australia afterwards, and then I go to Europe. So I visit, Germany, my family, my friends, and then I spend some time in some country in Europe. So I've been living in Portugal. This year, my plan was to go to Valencia in Spain, and to go to Georgia and Bulgaria, but obviously that's not happening. But yeah, usually I have kind of the same pattern. I spend half of the time in Southeast Asia and I spend half of the time in Europe. And I kind of definitely see myself continuing with that. But I think also like spending time now in Bali and being here in lockdown and really starting to build up a life, I start seeing myself getting a home base somewhere. So I think I'm at that point, after traveling for over 5 years, where I start craving again some sort of home base that I can, come back to. And also in terms of photography, I have equipment and things like that, and it's definitely not the easiest to always travel around with it.
Is it easier to have like a home base? So you said, you've been traveling and living abroad or so for the last 5 years. So how old were you when you first started again?
I was 21. Yeah, 21.
21. Yeah. And I definitely feel like, yeah, when you're first getting started and you're a lot younger, you constantly want to move around as much as you can. And then, yeah, over time, you're like, this is great, but you do crave a little bit of a home. So I totally understand. That was me this last year, of wanting to just kind of stay put for a place and kind of figure things out a little bit more, but still trying to figure out how to have that flexibility of, traveling and everything.
I think generally in the beginning, yeah, you just want to explore and travel, and you just want to see as much as possible. But I think everyone that is working remotely after a while is starting to want to slow travel and really like bond and create connection with people and more like settle into a place, which doesn't mean that I don't want to travel anymore. It's just slower. And yeah, I think also like COVID and the whole situation with the lockdown is starting to wake up quite a few people, and just like people are starting to understand themselves better and like wanting to stay in a place longer.
And I completely agree. And because especially a lot of my friends too, who travel a lot or who have lived abroad for quite a bit of time, they're also craving that bit of slowness and, creating those connections with people, because at the end of the day, I feel like that's very important to have in life, is those, relationships and those connections with people. That really makes a place that makes a place be more worthwhile, but yeah, I totally understand. That's definitely what I crave more of myself, is more slow travel. And it's funny that you said you were going to be in Valencia this summer, because I was going to be in Barcelona this summer. So we would have been, we would have been a short train right away.
Yeah, it's so crazy how everything has been changing. But yeah, I think it's definitely good. And yeah. Also, one more thing I want to add is just I think anyone that is listening to this podcast and might want to work remotely or might want to go travel around in the world, when you do that, I think to really be productive, I mean, I think you would know, but like to be productive, you really much have to be in a routine, right? you know, when we met last year, we were both going to Canggu Nest to workouts in the morning, and everyone kind of is trying to create like a normal life when they get to a place, and that's really hard to do when you constantly like travel around. So to be in a place longer is just amazing, to create a routine and to really get productive. And you know, I mean, right now I'm freelancing with my photography, but I do want to build up a business around it. And now I'm building a new website, and I'm, you know, starting to create products, and it's so much easier when you're also in a place longer than when you have to worry about where to go next, or like where to stay and things like that. So
completely agree, because I mean, when you're constantly traveling around, you're worrying about where you're going to stay, or like your next flight or your next train ride or whatever transportation you're using. And because you're having to worry about your basic needs, it's really hard to focus on what you're actually working on that actually allows you to be able to move around so much. So I totally understand, because this last year for me as well, with like starting my podcast and working on my own projects, I really needed to just not so much worry about my basic needs of like living and transportation. You know, I needed to just have those needs just be met, not change for a while, and then that can allow me to just work on what I need to be working on, that will then allow me to travel more again in the future. No, but I'm so excited for you. Like you said, you're creating a new website and everything, but for someone that wants to live this kind of lifestyle, like living abroad and, you know, being a nomad possibly, what is one advice you would give them that you would have liked to know when you first started out?
That's a good question. One advice, just don't listen to what other people tell you, to be honest. It's like, when you have that deep feeling inside that you want to get out and travel and work remotely, and you know, other people are kind of telling you, you can't do this, you can't do that, it's just listening to your own inner voice and just really following that, and really know that whatever you are trying to achieve, if that is traveling or if that is working remotely, you are going to achieve that if that's really what you want, and just listening to that. Yeah, it took me a while to kind of understand that, and to just follow what I wanted, and to stop listening to what other people are trying to tell me. So yeah, I think that's my advice.
That's a great one. Yeah, don't let people get into your head. You know, those are their voices, not yours, and you have to listen to your own. So I think that's definitely well said. But so for people that, you know, want to follow your journey because you are so open about your lifestyle and social media, how can they follow you? And also, if they want to work with you for branding photography, how can they get in touch with you?
Yes, so I definitely share a lot on my Instagram. So in terms of photos and also stories. So I don't know, my name is Christina Spoerer, which is not the easiest name to, I guess you can just maybe put it into the notes, like my Instagram handle. And then the other thing is my website, which is Christina Spoerer Visuals, where I post where I'm going to be next. So the country that I'm currently in, and also where I'm going to be next. And through that, people can see where I am and also book a session with me.
They're going to add your handle and links, you know, in the notes. It's a lot easier to spell than what it sounds. No, but thank you so much, Christina. It was a true pleasure to be able to talk with you and hear more about your story. It's definitely inspiring, especially for those that feel like they need, you know, some sort of like degree or something to be able to start a business and live abroad. And you're living proof that it's really all about mindset. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. That was awesome.
For more information on travel and life abroad, go to Venture-Ette.com. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know by leaving a review. And be sure to follow me at Venture-Ette on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Safe travels, and until next time.